Doesn't work.
It's probably a little bit early for her, but one other still to come. Penny's getting sorted itself out, but welcome everybody to the kickoff call for Principles of Organisational Coaching, or as you'll see and hear, Mandy and I always referring to it as POC. Everything becomes an acronym in our world these days, doesn't it? So really excited to have you here for the 2023 program. For those that don't know me, my name is Tony Butler, as you can probably see. I am the Director of Coaching here at IECL, and yeah, I'm the one who's, I guess between Mandy and I, we're kind of just tag teaming around holding the POC space for all of you. So really excited to have you here. Why don't I let Mandy introduce herself, and then we'll talk a little bit about the program and get you to introduce yourselves as well.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, so I'm Mandy Geddes. I'm IECL's co-director for Coach Education, and delighted to be with you for POC. Right up front, I should say I won't be here for the entire course, and Tony will be looking after you very well throughout July because I will be away, but I'm here now and I will be back in August and September. So yeah, we've been running POC for I think about 7 or 8 years now, and it's always a great course. I did it myself a few years ago and loved it. So I'm a real advocate. So delighted that you have joined, and yeah, we're going to have some fun.
Fantastic. As was indicated, I think in the materials that you have on the email invitation for this call, it's not a compulsory call. The conference calls are simply an opportunity for us to connect as a group, for you to ask questions of Mandy and myself, and of each other, of course, because POC is an asynchronous course otherwise, although we have some tight timelines for assignments and such. So really the purpose of today's conversation is just to connect and say hello, and Mandy and I might share a few pieces around the program, just in terms of our experience of running the program for the past few years, and talk about some of the little elements in there that you may have read about already in the subject outline, but we might just bring those to life a little bit more for you. And of course, anything else that you might want to bring to the table. So if there is something that you want to put onto the agenda, just let us know at any time. But let's maybe just do a quick check-in, and so, maybe if I could ask each of you to take a turn to introduce yourself, perhaps let us know where you're calling in from, and the question, why are you here? Why are you doing POC? Whenever any of you want to go first.
I'm happy to go first if you would like. So my name is Penny Holt. I'm in Sydney. I work primarily in talent acquisition. Actually, I'm on my work computer, so you can see I work at T Corp, which is the sort of associated with the New South Wales government. So we look after all the finances, so the investments and the debt, so the bond issuance on behalf of the state, which you probably know is a lot. Billions and billions of dollars. So I do some coaching, I've been there for quite a while, and I do some coaching as part of my role, some internal coaching of some of our young women and up and coming women in the organisation. But I really love career and job search coaching is what I like doing the most. So, because obviously it's the flip side of talent acquisition. Yeah. Was there another part of that you needed? Was that it, Tony?
Why POC at this time?
Oh, yes,
Penny?
That's important. So I did the Masters of Organisational Coaching at Sydney Uni. I actually graduated in 2005. So it's been nearly 20 years, amazingly. And I just know there's been lots of developments during that time in this space. And I mean, back then with Tony Grant and Michael Kavanagh, there wasn't even much research specifically on organisational coaching. But now, of course, some of the people who were coming through the course at that time have completed PhDs and research in this space, and there's a whole ecosystem around it, as you all know. So I'm just really interested in keeping up to date in the space, and I love the theory. Yeah, so that's why I'm doing it.
Wonderful. I hope it lives up to your expectations in that regard.
I'm sure it will. Sure it will.
Thank you, Penny.
I'll go next if you like.
Thanks, Rachel.
So I'm Rachel. I'm calling in from Sydney. I've done level 1 and 2. I'll do the narrative coaching probably at the end of this year, I think, or maybe early next year. I am doing the, so I've done the graduate diploma, and I'm currently doing the next level with the university, so with Charles Sturt, of which this makes up a subject. However, that's not the only reason that I'm doing this. I have an absolute love of learning, and I love reading and learning. So, you know, the opportunity to get in there and learn more is just something that I enjoy. It's not a, you know, my husband will say to me, "What are you doing?" I'm reading my notes, you know. And I know I could breeze through them or skip over them, but I like to read the detail and really understand and take it on. I'm really enjoying the reading so far. I have done quite a bit. So last night I read one of the articles, which was the one which everyone else will get to. I know I'm the only one who's made a comment thus far because I'm trying to get ahead before I go on holidays. So it's on the positive psychology and the you know, are these things making us sick? I really liked that article because it was so different and challenged, you know, the status quo. So yeah, I'm loving the reading so far. So that's why I'm here, to learn and grow. I work as an internal coach as well. I've been with my company for about 4.5 years. It is a smallish company, so coaching the same people over a long period of time is challenging. And has petered off a little bit. So I really need to inject something new into that to deliver something different to them. That's part of my role. So it also makes it tricky because I deal with the same people in continuous improvement projects and things as well, whilst I don't manage any of them, which I'm grateful for. So that's me.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Rachel. And I think some of the pieces that we'll cover off in this subject as well is you know, other issues to look at in terms of how you're setting up your coaching structures and infrastructure as well, which I think we might glean some useful ideas from, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm based in Sydney. I'm doing POC because, like Rachel, I'm doing the Master of Social and Organisational Leadership, which I've affectionately called the bag of potatoes. And this is one of the subjects that I do need to do. I have completed level 1 and level 2. Even if I wasn't doing my master's, I would still look at this because it's a challenge. I'm afraid I'm not much of a theoretical person. I am a hands-on person, and that's something I do struggle with some of what we learn. I like the theory because it challenges you, and while you're in these sessions, you can make a lot of mistakes because gosh knows I've made a lot of mistakes coaching. I work in learning and development, and I'm trying to move into organisational development. I volunteer as something called a Girl Guide leader, where I do coaching. There's more than coaching, but it's a skill that I found I use in multiple areas, and I've started to coach people in my workplace as well.
Thanks, Danielle. Yeah, there's quite a lot of reading to get through, so it's I'm a bit like you, Danielle, and I remember when I did POC, it was a real churn, so I had to make sure that I had a good amount of time put aside for all of that. Yeah, thank you. Chow, you've taken yourself off mute.
If I may.
Yeah, please.
So I'm Chao Zhang. I'm based in Germany. I'm living in Germany for the past 11 years. I come originally out of China, Guangzhou, China. So why am I here? I started my coaching journey back in 2019. I've always had a marketing and a business consulting experience. Then I encountered coaching. It really speaks to me, something I feel gave me a lot of energy, a lot of purpose. So I actually switched to HR back in 2021. So I'm now the leader for learning development in a global corporate for the region. So in my job, I need to also involve in cultural transformation, change management, manager capability training. For me, really close to my heart is how to bring coaching, the impact of coaching, maximize the impact of coaching, and also understand the impact of coaching. For me, still something I want to explore, how to show the impact of coaching to my stakeholders, how to use coaching more, not just me, but enable more people in the organization to use coaching. So that brought me to really the course. I want to get all those theories and also consolidate them, be able to use them also to in the organization to create courses, program, but also to really persuade my senior stakeholders.
Wonderful. Thanks, Chow. Good to have you here. Sean.
Yeah, Sean Redmond, based in Perth, where it's very chilly today. I did my first coach training in 97, and then with IECL in around 11 and 12 and 13, I did levels 1, 2, and 3. So it's been a while since I've actually been in the theory and the sort of the mastery space, and which is why I did the narrative coaching over the last 3 days just to refresh, which was a very enjoyable experience, and a very good experience. And why am I doing POC? Probably just because I like learning, and it's been a while since I've used the grey matter, so I'm hoping to really unpack some, just use it really. It's probably no more complex than that. I just want to, I enjoy learning and struggling, with the theory. When I say struggling, to really understand it so that I can share it with others or make use of it in a very practical way. So I like that wrestling, yeah. So that's the reason why.
Okay, thank you. Be lovely to have the other couple of voices in the room. I think by my account at least, and I think Mandy confirmed, there's 2 other participants in the program that aren't here with us today. One, I believe, is based in Canada. The other is somewhere in Australia. I'm not sure which end of Australia. And the reason I share that is because there is what we call a buddy system in this program. So we will be buddying you up or matching you up with each other, in 2s or 3s, so that you can connect with each other, and that doesn't stop you from connecting with others on the program, of course, but that will allow you an opportunity to connect and support each other. There are some very specific requirements in the assignments where we ask you to use your buddy relationship in a similar fashion to how you might use a supervisor relationship in coaching. So we get you to contribute some of those pieces. So just wanted to highlight that piece in terms of who else is in the room, and if you get buddied up with someone that's not here, that you're aware of that. Mandy, I'm kind of might be putting you on the spot. I'm wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about the program overall, and just in terms of just general expectations around the reading and the online discussion, etc. Is that worth referring
Yes.
to?
No worries, Sean. Very happy to. Thanks, Tony. So big picture. This is a theory-based course, which is part of the appeal for some. And it's one of our few or only fully asynchronous courses. But I think for the content, it's really well suited to the format. So as you will have probably already gathered, and I noticed a lot of you have already commented in the first discussion forum, thank you. So you're already seeing, and it's lovely to see you commenting on each other's comments. That's really the way that this is designed to work. It's an asynchronous conversation. Sometimes I know we can get very busy and just feel like, okay, I've just got to pop in, make my comment and move on to the next thing. But if you do have time to go back, it's really valuable to see what other people have commented and to comment, even if you have a minute to add a short comment on others. points of view, and especially with things like the first discussion forum, which is all around our own definitions of coaching, and they're all going to be very different, no doubt. So it's lovely to add your responses or reflections on others' definitions. So really encourage that when you have time. And we are aware that it is a fairly heavy workload for this course, and it's 12 weeks, so it is fairly continuous, I would say, politely. There are some breaks to write the assignments, but otherwise it's fairly much almost every week there'll be a new set of readings or videos or other input for you. Don't panic if you do get behind. We have had people who have caught up later, and that's totally fine if you need to. If you can keep up, it's always better, just because then you're in the conversation at the same time as everyone else. I guess the beauty of going last is you get to read everyone's comments, and for some that's an advantage, for others that's an inhibitor. So if you know that you can be affected by other people's comments and that can be an inhibitor, then you might want to try jumping in early to make your comments. So you'll learn a lot about how you work in this kind of group if you haven't done it before over the coming weeks and months. That's probably it as a high level overview. If you can be at these Zoom meetings, that's great. If the time doesn't work for you, do catch up with the recording later on. We don't put content in this that you need, so it's not that you require it, but it's nice just to connect with each other. And from my experience doing POC, I would really highly recommend that you spend all the time you can with the buddy, especially to do the activities that we recommend, and even if you want to continue on that conversation, because there's so much value in being coached. You'll literally be coached on your work in POC, and yeah, it's quite powerful. I still remember quite vividly some of the conversations I had with my buddy during POC a couple of years ago, so it is quite a powerful part of the course. That's high level. What have I missed, Tony?
I think the only thing we've probably alluded to, and I want to make very explicit, is the workload is not light. I think in the subject outline that hopefully you've all read and paid attention to the deadline dates for assignments and things like that. If you haven't, do go back to your subject outline, and particularly on page 4 and 5, there's the timeline of all of the modules in terms of which dates they'll be released, the times and dates for all of our conference calls like this, and of course the deadlines for your assignments. So they're really important dates that you'll want to pull out and make sure that you have well documented in your calendar. But around that, of course, is making sure that you do put time aside. It is a university unit, and so you can expect, therefore, that the amount of time and effort you need to put into this program is of the same ilk. So that does require your weekends. I was a relatively slow reader, and so yeah, that meant my whole weekend whenever I was doing it. We have endeavoured to try to break up some of the content a little bit. In the last couple of years, we've been refining or revising, and we revise every program every year. But Mandy and I have been very actively trying to substitute out some of the reading and put in some videos or other types of content as well, so that you get a little bit of variety in that regard. All in service of your learning, however. So just wanted to make sure that you are aware at this point that you need to block some time in your calendar. So like Rachel, if you've got big things coming up in your life where you're going to be disconnected from technology or distracted by other events, useful to do what you can to plan around that. Maybe if I take a moment to just talk about the assignments. There are 2 key assignments. The weightings for those are all listed in your subject outline at the back of that document. The first assignment is very much around focusing on the first parts of the modules, so modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's looking at sort of your definitions of organisational coaching, looking at the professional development and all of the various coaching approaches that inform the practice of coaching these days, and of course coaching evaluation. And what you'll notice about that key assignment, it's a very personal assignment. So whilst we expect our assignments to be written in academic standards with academic referencing, do refer to the APA referencing guide that's online. The only difference that you'll find in these assignments is you can write them in the first person. Okay, so unlike other academics assignments, you're usually writing in outside of third person. And the focus of that first assignment is really getting you to start to think about and develop a plan for your continuing professional development as a coach. So how do you start to use these sort of theoretical underpinnings of coaching to start to think about where else and how else you continue to develop your practice as an organizational coach? As I've already mentioned, the buddy system, be aware, and we'll talk about this again in the second conference call because I find it bears reminding that that buddy conversation, where you coach each other around that or sort of supervise each other around that, there is a space in every assignment. Again, I'm going to keep saying this piece because a lot of people miss it, is to make sure that you make reference to what's the learning and the reflection you're taking away from those conversations, because it's an important part of the assignment as well. Mandy, anything else on the assignments or the buddy system? Any other elements of the program that you think worth mentioning?
Yes, we will assign the buddies over the next week. So just give us a moment with that. Chow will probably put you with Kat, who's in Canada, because I think that'll be the closest person to you time-wise. But the others will work out. Yeah, with the assignments, as Tony mentioned, if you can aim for the due date, because Tony has set aside time to mark them after that. Of course, if there are extenuating circumstances, just let us know. But if you can aim to take the time, but it also means that you get to write it during that break that we have scheduled in there so that you're not trying to do two things at once. The other thing I was just going to ask, did everyone get the textbook already? Has it arrived? Danielle, yours hasn't arrived yet?
No, it hasn't. And I've confirmed my address several times.
Okay.
Sorry, since level 1 and level 2, I've moved. So I was clear when I was rolling in this course of the new address.
Oh, okay. No, this is not the textbook coming from us, but from whoever you ordered it from. You haven't.
Nope, sorry.
Literal book. Okay.
Are you all familiar with which textbook we're referring to? Okay.
Obviously, I am.
So Danielle, it's in, again, if you refer to, I'm just looking at this, where is it in the subject outline, Mandy?
It's early on in the piece. Let me just have a look.
There is a particular text. Let me just find mine and I'll show it to you.
Page 8 in the subject outline. Danielle, it was also mentioned in the first email that we sent out, just confirming all the details.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you can see this, folks. Let me unblur my, but it's the complete handbook of coaching by Elaine Cox, Tatiana Bakarova, and David Clutterbuck are the editors, but the contributions inside the text, many of the names around coaching that you would have heard, plus some others. And of course, there's other readings and the like in the online academy as well. But the textbook is the sort of foundation of the program.
I already have the book. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Ah, fantastic. You're well set. Yeah, I think that's it at this point.
Okay. The only thing I just wanted to share, so we've got 3 calls set up. This one, we'll have another one just prior to the first assignment, and I think another one prior to the second assignment. really just as reminders, sometimes to just check in with each other. It is just to say hi, a bit of a socialising some of our learning, asking questions of each other, as I mentioned, and to review your own progress. As I also mentioned again, and I'll say it again, it's, it is informal, so it's not a part of the assessment. So with that in mind, Mandy and I don't have anything else in particular that we feel is important to share with you at this point in time, but also want to open up the floor to any questions that any of you may be holding, or anything else that you think would be important for the rest of the class to know about you.
One thing that pops into my mind, Danielle, is just that we should check you've got the same edition of that book that everyone else is looking at. Otherwise, the page numbers will be skew. If you don't need to order a different one, but I think is it the third edition, Tony? That
Third edition.
Third edition,
yes.
from 2018. Okay, excellent. That's good. We've had that page number issue before. I think it was me, wasn't it, Tony?
Yes.
I was the one with the old book.
Chow, you've got the book?
I have the Amazon version, the digital version. I haven't started reading yet, so I don't know whether the page match up.
Oh, that's true. In a
do be aware the way we reference it, so you'll be jumping around the book quite a lot in each of the modules, and that includes some of the before you get into this text, page number 1 doesn't start until section 1, so there's actually something like, I can't read those Roman numerals, but it goes X, L, V, I. I've forgotten my Roman numerals from 50 years ago when I was at school. But yeah, that's how many pages there are of kind of pre-introductory pages to the whole text. So, so we have also drawn out some of the reading in that forward area as well.
And Chow, when you start reading it, if it doesn't seem to match up, have a look at the chapter headings, because they should match. And if you get stuck, just get in touch with Tony or I, because we can help.
All right, thank you.
I have probably it's a bit of a random question, I suppose, but if you do this subject, I think Rachel said you're doing it. Does it count towards the degree at CSU? Okay,
that's
right.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
without having to do an extra essay at the end.
Correct.
I've never managed to do for the other 3 subjects. Yeah. Anyway, maybe one day.
You will have the credit in your pocket if you decide one day to go to CSU.
And do the essay, if you do the essays for the other subjects.
For the other subjects, yes.
Yeah.
Level 1, 2. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
It seems that this subject here is about the same amount of work as a CSU subject.
Yeah.
The same amount of reading and video watching and stuff. So if you're happy with this workload, you'll be happy with the CSU subject workload, like the leadership ones that you do through CSU. Yeah. It's very similar.
Do you just do one subject at a time, Rachel?
I do, because I work, children work. I only do 2 subjects a year. It's going to take me a long time, but that's nice for me, and I get to learn, integrate, have a break, and then take the next. So I create that space in between doing each thing.
Yeah, it'd be a lot to do 2 subjects worth at the same time.
Yeah.
And if I could interrupt, I actually find these courses are more work than doing a standard university course. Perhaps it's just me, but I feel like there's a lot more reflection, and you can't, like an essay is very black and white. You can keep the emotion out of it. There's none of that in this. So I actually do find this more challenging.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Nice perspective to share, Danielle. Thank you. I think we often take that reflective part of our program so for granted. We forget that it does require a different type of energy and effort and time. So thank you. Chow, I noticed you took yourself off mute. You were going to ask Doris to say something.
Right. I'm just curious about how different it is regarding the theory versus the level 1 and 2, which also have theory, because I'm just thinking, based on what we talked about, Elida has also very nice coaching style, and also maybe I could also learn more. Although I'm now approaching PCC, I could probably also refresh my coaching skills. So how worthwhile is it to, if I learn this POC, to again learn level 1 and level 2?
However I answer this question, I'm going to have a bias. So I want to declare that up front. Mandy, I noticed you took yourself off mute as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say we could talk about it briefly here, Chow, but I might also connect you with Peggy, who's in Germany.
Yes, I know her. Yeah.
Oh, good. Excuse me, losing my voice.
Maybe Chow, and it's probably not as relevant to others in this program, but very quickly, if I can say that I did my coach training elsewhere. I did my coach training with IECL when I was a PCC coach with a good 10 odd years experience already under my belt.
Right.
And I have to say that the focus on the organizational coaching and the frameworks and foundations of IECL's programs are so incredibly solid. And there's this lovely combination of the theory and practice. So there's the workshops, as Sean, so talked about coming off narrative. There's a lot of practice in the workshops, and then you've also got the theory, and in a similar format to what we're doing in POC. So there's reading and discussion online, and then there's the reflective practice around the assignments. So very, very similar, but just not quite as intense over the 12 weeks. It's
Okay.
a little bit different structure.
Thank you.
But highly worthwhile, but I am going to declare a bias because I work here.
And Peggy is great, Chow, so I would have a chat with her because she knows everything about those courses and can advise you.
I think the observation I'd make just on that too, Tony, picking up on what you were just sharing then, was that having done this training sort of 10 years, or the narrative training 10 years ago as level 3, a lot of the content, because I've kept all my coaching notes from them, I think it was, I did it with Hillary. So I've kept all my notes and I've kept the book. And so one thing I'm mindful of is that there is still a lot, probably 80%, I'd say, that's the same, which demonstrates the rigor and the value and the relevance of the material. It's definitely been updated, which I found helpful and challenging in a good way. But what my reflection was that the quality of what we learn is, stands the test of time, if you like. So it's definitely valuable.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. There's always that thing when you come back and learn you're in a different place from when the first time you learn it. So how you apply it, what you apply, what parts you bring forward into your practice are always new anyway, aren't they? Yeah. Folks, anything else around POC? I'm very grateful for that little plug on other programs for Chow, who hasn't done it, but anything else you want to share of relevance for POC? All right. We don't want to take up your time unnecessarily. As Mandy and I've said, reach out to us or each other, of course, online. If you've got any particular issues, you can reach out to Mandy or myself directly. You can just send a message to coach.training@iecl.com or message us directly through the platform. Okay.
And if you have I was just going to say, if you have technical issues with the platform, that coach.training@iecl.com, that's the operations team, and it's manned, it's not manned, it's personed or whatever it is now. That email address is covered from early till late most days, I think about 12 hours a day. So you're probably get a faster and better technical response from that email than from Tony and I. We're not as technical as they are. But anything to do with content or the curriculum, Tony and I.
Okay. And again, just a reminder, if you haven't read the subject outline, please take some time to go through it, because it will really help set the scene for you. And then have fun talking to each other online. And we'll see you in there too.
Yeah, we'll see you online soon.
All right.
Thank you.
And the next conference call is, what was the date of the second conference
It's
call?
July.
25 July.
25
Same
July.
time. Well, same time for us. Yeah, it's the same time. At 4 p.m. GMT plus 10. So if you have that in your diaries, it'd be great to see you again then.
It's a Tuesday.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Thanks, Penny.
Okay.
We've changed it around a little bit each
Yeah.
time just because some dates work better for some and, you know, all those usual things. But
Yes.
tried to keep the time at around the same so that we can accommodate Chow in Europe. But sadly, we can't always accommodate Cat in Canada.
Mm.
All right. Go well,
All right.
folks.
Thank you very much.